The Therapist and the Coach podcast is a space for real relational conversations about what it means to be human.
In a world obsessed with fixing, achieving, and self help, we invite you to pause, lean in, and discover the wisdom already inside.
Together, we explore how healing, growth, and transformation can happen not in isolation, but in connection.
Through open hearted dialogue, we challenge the myth of self regulation and self improvement, offering instead co regulation, psychological safety, and the power of being seen.
All right. So we were in the messiness of figuring out what we were going to talk about today. And so I said, hey, since
Let's just start recording.
let's start recording because these are real relational conversations. So
Exactly.
hey.
We're going to figure out what we want to talk in this episode, and then we'll talk about it in this episode.
Well, we did this long stint, and I really want to acknowledge us for um, being able to hold a thread through the last several podcasts. I think at three or four when we really jumped in and addressed imposter syndrome and what's referred to as imposter syndrome, but really is just it's a human experience that a lot of us experience based on the nature, nurture, the environmental interaction that we have with our being from childhood on. So really such a neat conversation. And we were able to hold that thread throughout, which I think was an accomplishment because there's so much to talk about. We often kind of get whimsy with the whole thing.
Right.
But today, I had talked about at the last podcast, perhaps addressing this idea of needs versus values versus wants. And so I just actually want to check in if that's still relevant. And I'll tell you where my thoughts were when I brought that forward was my thoughts were about giving people a place to start. So giving more context where the choices are and needs and wants and value, like getting those tangled can can be and realizing the distinctions or understanding the distinctions from my coaching has been really useful. And I, from your perspective, I'm not sure how you hold this with your clients. Um, but I do have a needs and a values assessment, which I would love to share with anybody who wants it. Again, if that's what we end up talking about, I would encourage people and invite people to just email support@souldesigns.ca, and Angela, my assistant, will send you a needs and values assessment just for free,
Good
like
for
just
that. That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah.
to help. So that's where my head was at, and I'm wondering if you think that's useful, still valuable, or if we should put that somewhere else.
I think we should go for
Okay.
it. Should
Oh,
we?
well, see, you're so easygoing. It's awesome. Okay.
I
Well,
think we should
fun.
just go for it. Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible.
Okay. Well, there's another little thing that we did in our, I guess, our green room time together. I'm doing air quotes with my fingers for those that are listening. But we do have a little connection where we talk about how we are and how's life, and we do that little
Right. Yeah.
conversation before we come in. And we have been making this invitation to our listeners to come and join us, and nobody's joining us, which, and then I got to wonder, like, would I, even if I was interested in this podcast, would I want to join? And really, where that invitation is coming from within us, if I can speak on your behalf, please correct me if I'm wrong, is a desire to connect and be together and have these conversations be something greater than just what you and I are putting in the space.
Mhm.
So we thought that a different step we could take would be, or another way we could make that invitation is to actually invite people to register for an actual join the conversation time outside of this podcast. So it would be recorded still, and we would be sharing that. So people would need to feel comfortable with that, and can join audio or, camera on or off. But yeah, so what did we say the date was going to be for that? June 25th. June 25th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Mhm.
So we welcome anyone, anywhere in the globe. come and join us. And the way you do that is, again, email support@souldesigns.ca and just write join the conversation. And my assistant will send you the link and a consent form. Sound okay?
It will be wonderful.
Yes, yes. So we'll find a way. We'll find a
Exactly.
way to invite people to this space
Exactly.
and share the conversation with us.
Exactly. 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 And as you said, like it's not to fix anything. It's not that. It's just for us to be together with whatever it is that we want to be, and the
And
rest will just happen naturally. And
yeah, gain perspective from other people and
hmm
thoughts and
hmm
questions and
hmm
it'll be whatever it becomes, but it would, we'll keep making the invitation in different ways and something
absolutely,
will stick at some point.
absolutely.
Okay, now I'm not timing this, so I better put my timer on because again, we're trying to stick to 30 minutes for these because, people's time is valuable. And we think we're interesting, but maybe we're not like an hour interesting
We're not
every
an hour interesting. Yeah.
time. Okay.
There's so much I can take you guys.
Yeah. So, I have some thoughts about this, but I have been talking. So I wonder if you have some thoughts about how we can start this conversation.
Well, I'm for me when I'm looking at because I think we thought about like needs, wants, and values, right?
The distinctions are
The
important.
distinction. And for me, wants and needs would be the first ones because the values are a bit different angle or a different entity. And the way I look at that, wants and needs, is first of all, many times when we think that we need something, we think that we want that. And so the other way around, when we say we want something, we actually need that. So what I'm trying to say by that, that so many times that we say, I really need, like for example, when I was 17, I really needed a sport car.
Yeah.
I needed a sport car. I would not be okay. The specific sport car that I dream in my life. Once I'm having that, I'm going to be the happiest. Everything is done. I'm all set in the world. It can come from so many things. I need to be in relationship, which is something even more pronounced for so many people. I need to, because if I'm not going to be in relationships, I'm going to be alone. And if I'm alone, I'm not doing well. And who's going to take care of me when I die? And I need to have children because of that. I want somebody to take care of me just like I took care of. So we have, and that actually connected to values of society that says, for example, we expected to be with a couple. You should not be alone in this world. Alone by yourself, meaning. So the values of the societies, which are right now hinting into values also, is that values is for me is very based on time, space, and surrounding and culture. The values that we have these days right now that we talk about are very different than the ones that they had in the Renaissance time and they had in the Roman time. And like if we stepped in time, let's be right now in the Middle Ages, you, me, everybody else, we probably wouldn't survive a day. Not even kind of thinking about, my goodness, this is just horrific. How did they do that? How did they go about days without bath, with the sewer system, if you kind of get into that, it's like, oh my God. Now, for them at the time, the values of what they had were very different than what we are currently have. But so many times it is kind of like it is embedded with society, and it can go all to a philosophical conversation whether there are values that should go throughout the times that will never change. For example, don't hurt somebody else, be kind
Yes.
to somebody else as you kind to yourself, or be kind to yourself as you are to somebody else. This is might be things that we want to see throughout the trajectory. But a lot of the values that we have are based on the society and the times that we are living at that point of time. So that's something to speak about on its own because we're so many sometimes caught since we were born in the messages of how we should be or how we shouldn't be, what values are important and what not. And every family, every person have very different values. And that's based on also how they live, what society they lived, you know. Yeah, some things that are very valuable for others, for some are not for others or contradictory to the others. That is that. In terms of wants and needs, I would think that, you know, when we're hungry, we need to eat, you know, food, right? That's a need. We have a need to feel safe in the world, physically and mentally. That's a need. But when we're going from that, if we usually don't get what, and that's an important message for me to say, if we usually don't get what we really actually need, we are compensating by think that we want something because the need itself is not available. So we think that if I'm going to be a millionaire, let's say I was deprived from love, you know, and the value that I got is you're going to be rich and famous and educated, you're going to be okay. These are the values that I'm going to adopt. But it also becomes a want that has nothing to do with the need. It kind of like becomes the need, even though the original need was never met. So if we never really got the need of being loved for who we are, exactly, without conditions, then we're going to start develop a want that we will say like I need, that becomes a need, that I need to be rich. Like if I make $30 million, how many of us did that? You know, when you say like if I'm going to be rich, then I'm going to be able to rest and I'm going to be able, which is no further than it's so further from than the truth. You
Mhm.
know, you just realize when you have all the things that you thought that you need are not what you needed. So the needs are becoming mixed with wants, and the wants become needs, and we don't know what belongs to what, because we, you know, the need for us when we come to the world is just to connect, is just to be. We don't want to, we don't come with any need or value to be rich or to be famous or to be this or that or a lawyer or whatever it is.
It actually is just to be.
It's just to be. It's
We
exactly.
come just to be, and then
It's
we are
exactly.
thrown into this thing called human school and go, oh, wait a minute.
Exactly. And if we
Yeah.
just, and the only need that we have is just to be with each other, just to have support, no matter what the external is. But if we can't trust that, then that need is transformed to something else. Like, for example, people are using drugs or medicating with alcohol or with workaholism, whatever that is. And they actually become dependent. They need that drug. Now, what they needed before they used the drugs is something that was never there, created a whole injury inside, and they try to pour it with a
Try to heal
need
it.
to be okay in the world, but it's not what they need. So,
Yeah. And often, and that goes back to some of the other things that we've been talking about. It's interesting that how everything goes back to what we've been talking
yeah,
about. So
exactly.
if you starting here, please go back and listen to other episodes.
It's all one straight line. Yeah.
Yeah. So I what you're saying is resonant for me, and there's a couple of other distinctions that I'd like to add to the mix, if I may, unless there's more that you need to say
Please,
or want to say here.
please.
Um, one of the approaches that I take and the distinctions that I take between, so first there is that distinction between want and need, which is so important. What is an actual need and what is a want? And the way to distinguish, and I'm just pulling out from what you said to make this, because it was inherent in what you said, but just to make it explicit, is to make that distinction for yourself. Is this something I can live without?
Mm-hmm.
It's a want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think about some social research that I was privy to at a conference once, where this researcher said that what money does buy happiness up to $60,000 US, and then that's it. Maybe a little bit more now with inflation, but
With that
but
amount, you really need to get
but
what you need.
why?
Yeah.
Because the needs were met, and anything on top of that was a want. So that distinction between need is want is important because we can get mucked up there and it can be confusing. Do I really need this? And if one is really wanting to spend some self-reflective time there just to create some clarity in discerning in just making discerning decisions, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is something that I got in touch with early in my psychology and my therapy training and all that stuff. And it really spoke to me because of the pyramid. Like there are real needs. Like we have physiological needs, those very basic needs for shelter, for for food. And if you're insecure, if you have shelter insecurity, you don't have a place to live, or if you're being removed from your or evicted from your home, that becomes the thing that you focus on because that's or water or food, all those things you were talking about. Then we have safety needs. We have, and we've talked about safety, psychological safety, physical safety, all those levels of safety. Then there's love and belonging. So if I never felt like I belong, that's going to be a need. Esteem is the next, the need for a sense of self in the world. And then but these and those first needs, if those physiological needs are not being met, they are going to distract oneself from the other. So it's
Mhm.
difficult to evolve individually when you're busy trying to find food for your family or make
Mhm.
enough to pay your bills so that you can feed your family,
Mhm.
or yourself. So those needs, to make that what you said really explicit, those needs drive us.
Mhm.
And then there's the psychological or emotional needs, the love and belonging needs, that if we didn't get those met, they might be driving us, like a need to find love. And we get that love, like you were saying, through money. So we try to fill that need, meet that need, but it's not the real need. So I end up feeling empty if I take that path. I'm forever empty. So I'm
Mhm.
always, it's a moving target,
Yes,
and the hole will never be filled externally. I
right.
think that's something that I really wanted to say because I people come to me and they're at the end of all they know. The grass is greener, they've changed jobs, they've moved countries. I mean, I did it. I did my version of that.
Me
I'm like,
too. Yeah,
why do I end up feeling so empty? It's so disheartening,
it is.
disillusioning,
It is.
painful,
Very
confusing,
alone. Yeah,
exhausting.
exhausting, painful. Yeah.
And so those wants, what you said was so powerful, that those like we attach to the wants, thinking that they're going to fill the need, and it's not. We got to stop and look at, what are those needs that have not been met? Because like hunger, the need for, I'm going to stay hungry until I get food.
Hmm.
And so that's going to distract me from, and here's where I think about values, living from my values. So needs, wants, we can start, like, just to make it really clear, you can start to distinguish between the two by going, do I really need this? Or is this something I can live without? Because if I can live without it,
And also underneath that, I'm sorry that I interrupt
that's
for a
okay.
second,
No.
but the thing about Maslow needs, hierarchy of needs, that I like people to understand that it is a pyramid.
Yes.
So the base is it's kind of the
The
basic needs:
most important.
food and physical shelter,
And air to breathe
and
and
air to breathe. All these very basic elements of needs. The pyramid is kind of built in a way that one every stairs, every
builds
part
on each other.
builds on each other. So the idea, and it's so true, that it's not only distracting us from if we that, but if we don't have a shelter, if you don't have food, you're not gonna jump to the number three, that I'm looking for love. You're
That's
going to survive.
right.
So there's not even an option to think about anything else. You're not gonna progress to the second one until that one is found. So the problem is that so many times that time, that base, when we depend on other people, we don't get that stage internalized. If it's not internalized, we can never really progress to, let's say, the top of the pyramid is all you can be. You can't be all you can be if you didn't internalize that you're loved, that you're safe inside. All of that, it will never happen. You won't get to that. And the needs are usually so we cannot really, it's important to understand, you cannot really progress from that developmental stage to another, and you can be in a treadmill for the rest of your life if you didn't get the need, the really actually needs, we confuse them with wants because they're not available to us. We don't even know what was to be actually, let's say, loved for who we are. So we are equipped with that from very young to seek what we think we need. And then it's like, do you really need to have all this money? Well, that's the alternative of what they didn't have. At least they could get money and get recognized. It's not what they need.
Yeah.
But they that it's because they never had what they did. Now the power that we have is from inside, not out.
Yes.
Because if we understand that the need to be wealthy is replacing something else, then we can start understanding what belongs to what. So do people need all these cars or all this wealth? No. But take that away from them, and if they don't have any inside, they won't even know who they are.
Yeah.
So the need and the want, they said, I really actually need that. But first, like, why do you need several cars and sports cars? Why do you need all of that? It's like, it's because I don't feel that they exist even without all of that. So I'm saying all of that for people to start reflecting on what they are replacing outside with needs that are actually something else that they didn't get.
And what you're also emphasizing that is really important to pull out and speak to specifically is the incredible resource that we are for ourselves, that we can spend our entire life getting those needs met, like, or trying to get them met through those wants, through the misinterpretation of what a need and a want is, still feel empty. It's why actors, I think about the people I've loved and grew up with, and couldn't imagine them being sad, like Robin Williams, for example, and yet so lonely, so empty,
Anthony
and was
Bourdain is
loved
another one
by
that comes to
so
mind. Yeah,
many, like that is just that just breaks my heart. And really, you say it all the time, like we have the capacity within us. A coaching perspective is that people have their own answers, and we say that off the cuff now, but the fact is that that's where, and you brought it forward, that's where this level of empowerment and personal power actually exists, is within just a reflective practice, just to start to know these distinctions, get
exactly. First of
curious
all, start
about
with that because otherwise
it.
you're in
Just
a
start
maze that you
there.
don't even know that you're in a maze.
I know. And this is where the coaching work, that, just sometimes that distinction can change someone's life. So that was one of the reasons I really wanted to bring this forward.
Yeah.
And one of the things that also changed my life when I came to my coach education was this idea to orient my life around my values. That I had to think about for a long time because I didn't really understand it. I didn't understand how needs and values were distinct, but you just spoke to it. I can't, and what's interesting is that it's actually 100% related to living your soul design, because your soul design is your unique makeup of values. Like you and I have probably, if we put a list of our core values, they were probably very, very similar. Like there's
Mhm.
very few places where we actually bump up against each other, if at all. Yet there's other people where it's like, ooh, mm, that, like, I have these like value rubs about the choices that they're making, but that's aligned with their values and it's different than mine. But it's my unique makeup, what I see is important. And it usually shows up, our values, from my perspective and my experience with my clients, tends to show up in our language. Like, I really love that. Or, yeah, I'm so energized when I do X, or when they start talking about something that they wish that they were doing, and it's like, whoa, you just lit up. Like I can see their body language changes. There's a somatic experience and feeling, and it's actually where fulfillment lives, is oriented around values, which in Maslow's hierarchy would be one's self-actualization.
Mhm.
But if I don't know what my values are, then what do I orient around? And if I don't know I have a choice, what, one of the reasons I live where I live is one of my top values is nature, is beauty. Like I wake up and I open my eyes and I'm surrounded by it. It's one of the when I started coaching, I was inner city Calgary. I thought I needed to live, needed to live in the middle. No, I didn't need to live in the middle of a city. I wanted to be part of things and have a community. That's what I needed. Um, but I actually, my values of like living in nature is just amazing. So, there's some, as always,
There's so
I
much to
could
talk about.
say,
It is a big topic, and maybe then again
I,
today we'll just
yeah.
opening it up because there's so much to talk about, and I'm thinking that we'll need another one
Well,
to.
and I think that, there's also some language out there I want to address out there in the world in the human consciousness. We talk about layers and onions. And I think, in a children's movie, Shrek, he talks about, ogres are like onions. We've got layers, right? And it's out there, that idea, that concept. But you talked about values, also cultural, familial, a place in time, a moment, like a moment in time. Our values are very different than the values of 500 years ago. Like so, there's these different layers that we're born into because of the
Hmm.
time we're born,
Hmm.
because of the culture, because of the family we're born into, the societal, whatever's going on in the world.
Also being on Earth as being people,
Yeah,
be
I.
people, different people, the differences, and then that's why we are. It's part of being. We're living such a plural society.
But within that, we are individuals. Like we are
Yes,
individual
yes,
seeds,
yes,
and that's shown in
yes,
my logos. The distinction between soul designs is finding your way home to yourself, who you who you innately are by peeling away those layers of, what do I align with? What don't I? What do I,
yes.
society, family, like who am I?
Right.
Is a really important question because that's when I can start to make decisions that align with who I am and not what I think I'm supposed to be, and all that, where it gets messy
True.
and where
Very true.
needs and wants and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of richness and opportunity for people to start just even thinking about these things and getting curious about
Hmm.
needs, and
Hmm.
where do I hear myself feel. Oh, another distinction I make is when it's a need, I'm driven, like I need it, I'm driven towards it, then I need to look at, is it a need or a want?
Yes.
When it's a value, I'm drawn towards it. It's something I feel like it's like an organic pull, like it feels different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So being here with you, I value this time with you and sharing in the way we are and what we're sharing, all that stuff. So it's energizing. I look forward to this because it's
Yes.
so aligned with my
And
values.
that's innate to us. And that's kind of like all tied together because if we got what we needed to develop
Mm.
to be who you are, whole, then we have the capacity, the atmosphere, the ingredients inside and out. Let's say it's also culture, open environment. Then I can start thinking about what are my values, not more about what society told me. Look
Yeah.
at Afghanistan, for example. Women cannot be seen they cannot be seen at all. They cannot think about their values because they don't have any value in that society. They're supposed to be invisible. So that's a very different conditions that you as a
Mm.
woman are right now sitting where you are and have the safety to think about different values that you actually have. And that
Wow.
goes all the way to the basic needs. It's like if you not cannot be and show yourself and you're not valued to, women just need to stay home and cook and not be seen. That's what they're doing there in Afghanistan and in other parts in the world. Then their values are not going to be as what we can think because they're not even there. They're just trying to survive, to open their eyes and be in this world. So
Wow.
I think that the beginning of the beginning, because it's then again, it's such a broad topic that is tied to so many things, is to ask people or to invite people, first of all, to sit and reflect. What are the things that I decided that I really actually need? And to see, is it really a need inside? Or it feels like a need. For example, if I need to right now, let's say, smoke a cigarette, and it's like a need. It's like becoming like I'm going crazy with that. It became a need. It's like addiction. It became an addiction. It's not what you need. It's a replacement of something that you didn't get. So to sit and reflect what is in my life that I'm really, and it could be, for example, I think you and I have talked a little bit about before that like there was time that, excuse me, I needed to be in relationship. If I'm not in relationship, I'm gonna be alone in the world. All that changed when I started taking care of my inner world and to really needs that never met. And that stayed completely the values. Like today, I see you can be alone in coupleship, in marriage. The fact that people married, like, oh, we're married for 50 years already. It's like, whoa, that's really actually an achievement. But are you really happy in the 50 years? Because you can be so alone in those 50 years more than if you were by yourself. So we have that society, but we have to be in a relationship to be okay. Couldn't be further than the truth,
Yeah.
you know. So, and then we develop judgments and differences, as you said, like value, for example, is love. For me, the value of, and it's not even, it just is. So when we have that, so many other things that we're sure we needed are actually dissipated. They don't exist anymore. If you have the need to be shown and to be on the red carpet and to be seen for that 5 minutes to be okay in the world, that's something said about something that needs that you never got, that you developed a want, an achievement, a value that gives you 5 minutes of fuel, and then you go back empty to your back empty and alone as alone can be when nobody sees you. So I think that we want to gradually to first of all to invite people, and then we'll continue, I think, talking about that, to invite people to just reflect and say, do I really have a need, a wish to be, let's say, in relationship? Now, is it my need? Is it what my people might say? Is it something that why do I need to be in relationship? Is it a need? Because it could be that you never had a relationship where you felt safe
Well,
and whole.
and that's not a great place to start because if I'm going into a relationship to get my needs met by someone else, that's premeditated disappointment.
That's exactly right. That's exact.
That
That's
is
that.
because other people are not meant to meet your needs. And that is a really important message is that we as adults are responsible for that. No one else is. We can ask people, they can say yes or no. They might be able to meet them sometimes, they might be able to not meet them sometimes. The world is
The relationship is set up not to succeed, of course, because
yes,
it's
yes.
based on
So,
need rather than you have yourself, that
and
person
I
have
can
themselves. Correct.
not expect other people to do this for me. And yet, somehow, somewhere along the line, that is the expectation. And maybe it's from that original wound that
Yeah,
you're
it is.
talking about, is
It
that
is. It
I
is.
expected to be, my family to be the one that I can trust. Well, guess what? They weren't safe.
Weren't
So,
they? And then you left up like a kid. You grow up in age, but the kid inside still looking for a family,
yes. And
looking
so,
for somebody to protect her.
as a,
And it, Mhm.
yeah, we talked about that earlier.
Yeah. So it's like that's what I'm trying to say is to trace. You don't have to understand at the beginning,
Yeah.
just to make because it's hard. This is a work to an introspective work with yourself, with others though. But as long as you don't know what belongs to what, you just keep running like a rat in a maze and try to get your needs met without even knowing even what it means.
And going in circles, going
And
and
going in
feeling
cir- and going in cir-
disappointed
and
and
going
feeling
in
disheartened.
circles.
Because, yeah, when I
Yeah.
ended up in Greece and I'm like, this stuff was not supposed to follow me here. And I was so like, where do I go? I can't run far enough. And it's true. We change our skies, not our souls, those that run across the sea. And it's
Exactly. So
in that soul space.
exactly. It is. It is. And it's the human need that was never met in the original one. We will have to, it becomes a need that is not fulfilled. And we project that I really need to be constantly working to be rich and richer and richer. That's just an example. Or can go from one relationship to another just to end up in the same pattern because the way we come from our wound, we invite ourselves exactly what we didn't want,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
familiar.
it's so interesting. That is so fascinating. I call that being stuck in the pain I know. So we're coming to the end of our 30 minutes. We've probably exceeded it again. And yet, I really appreciate how much there is here for us to talk about.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think
And
that we will just maybe also we'll invite people to reflect on that, and if they want to join us, that will be fine. That will be great. But just to start with that and to reflect to why do I feel that I need that?
Mhm.
Why do I feel that I have the need to? And then you kind of start not trying to solve it, and just sit with that and reflect. And as you allow yourself to sit with that, not to try to solve it with that, but just to hear your kiddo, the pull inside, what he or she, because then again, the needs are very usually not much. If you see people who are really complete, they don't need much. They really
Yeah.
don't need much. I can take, well, just want to talk just 2 seconds about an example. Things that I thought that I needed when I was in my 20s and I was very wounded at the time all completely. If I knew what I know from now, I wouldn't know that it would be completely crazy because I thought I needed to be with somebody. I thought I needed to be very wealthy, to have incredible, everybody sees me. It all came from a kid that was never being seen as himself. Now, as we said so many times, that can be repaired. That can be within time and work and can be repaired inside and get yourself what you never got through different relationship, not necessarily what you think that you need, because it was not available to get in the real way. Well, you have to look at something else because you cannot go to be a nerve, open nerve. So we want to start to try to understand what really belongs to what. So just start reflecting on that. And from there, we will continue in helping maybe to understand what really needs are and what becomes what we think needs and values that came out of a wound rather than a different place.
Mm.
Just want to remind people that when we're young, our choices and what we want to be are very different than what we are as adults. It's because we're right now grown. So the needs, the values that are basically belong to the developmental stage that we are, doesn't matter what age we are inside, and what we got from very young age and solidified to be the world that we view at that point of time,
Mm.
not because of we're aging, but because of where we are inside.
Yeah. And thank you for that. In my closing, I would also like to just really ask people to pay attention to what resonates for you in this conversation because everyone has a different starting point. And if
Mhm.
you don't resonate with inner child work or the language of kiddo or what Oren is offering, it's not wrong. It's just not where your beginning might be because
Mhm.
we've done a lot of work
Absolutely.
between the two of
Absolutely.
us, probably, hundreds of years between the two
Right,
of us,
right, right. It can be
personal
your
reflection.
internal world, whatever you want to call
So
it.
if it's just the distinctions and starting to be curious about what, the distinction between need, want, and value, what you feel drawn towards, what you feel driven towards, or what just play in the space. It's not, doesn't have to be deep and heavy. It doesn't have to be serious.
No, right.
And if you feel called to maybe explore this further and, work with a therapist or a coach or someone else or a friend, just have a conversation with a friend or a loved one, wherever you're at is exactly where you need to meet this
That's exactly
information,
right.
and that's all we're
That's
inviting
exactly right.
here. And just to
Yes.
remember that as adults we get to choose and we get to meet our needs, but if we don't know we have them and we don't know what they are, then we don't know how to meet them. And that will allow you to move away from being having your life driven by needs and often feeling empty and unsatisfied at the end of that. Kind of like if the need for food is there and you go through a drive through McDonald's, you're going to meet the need, but you're hungry in 10 minutes. Or you pack yourself a lunch and you meet that need differently by with healthy food, you are sustained longer and your body can function for you better. Like it's that. So that's just an analogy of, we can get needs met in unhealthy ways, which is what you were saying.
So, and
Um,
once we get them, they're automatically part of us. We don't really have
yeah,
to work hard. And then we move
yeah.
naturally and effortlessly to the next level of development.
And our energy and our focus can go towards things that we're drawn to and that fulfill
Yes.
us and that add
Yes.
to our life and bring contentment. And
Yes.
that's a space that we are not encouraged to live in.
Yes.
And so I really am so happy that you were willing to have this conversation and that
Oh,
it's well
we just started. So
yeah.
we'll keep going because it is then again, once again, a very deep conversation that goes to many places. I think we're just gonna come back to that next time and elaborate on so many other
Yeah.
aspects of that.
And again, if anybody wants that needs and values assessment, it's not one I created, but it is definitely one that is useful that can
And
create.
I'm thinking also if people wants to drop if they don't want to come, but they want to drop questions to us,
Mhm.
they can do that too, because based on the conversation that we have, if you'd like to drop questions to, to that
Hmm.
email that you sent,
Idea. Good
that's
idea.
a yeah.
Okay, so yeah, support at soul designs.ca, souldesigns.ca. That will go to my assistant Angela. And if you want the needs and values, just put podcast needs and values, please. She'll send you, I mean, you can drop the please if you're not feeling polite. But anyway, just she'll know to send you the needs and values program. And if you've got questions, just put podcast question and she'll forward that to and or one of either or both of us will respond to
And
you.
maybe we will
Great
discuss
idea.
that. We will discuss it here. That's what I'm thinking about,
Yes,
to bring
brilliant.
that up to here.
Love
And
that.
people can do that too if they don't want to participate in that, but they have a question or reflection or whatever it is, they can drop it to Angela and then you and I can discuss that live.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea. Oh, you are brilliant.
Oh,
So I'll just remind everybody that we are going to have our first join the conversation. You can register by for that June 25th, 10 a.m. Pacific, uh, 1 p.m. Eastern,
1
and
p.m.
it'll be an hour. You just come and stay as long as you want, or
Yeah. Yeah.
on camera, off camera, whatever. But we welcome you to register for that. Again, so, support at souldesigns.ca.
We would love to hear the comments of people even that heard this conversation, like you have reflection, you have something to say, you want that, bring it in. We will discuss that when we are talking.
And the other option is to subscribe to the podcast, and then you get, the download. That's
That
where
will
the
be,
questions can go
yes,
to. But
that's true
being
too.
old school, you and I, we forget to. And I don't know. I'm not big on the subscribing thing. I just want people to listen. I don't really care about the subscribing unless it's useful to you to subscribe because then you'll get the episodes
All
as
the
they come.
information.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm going to stop the recording. Thanks so much, Oren. This has been wonderful.